caught in the crossfire. It's caught in the...
What's up, guys? Lance the Obscure Movie Guy coming to you once again with another fun-filled, fact-filled video that you probably won't care about, but we're going to do it anyways, trying to change the world one post at a time. And it is 2024, so Happy New Year's and Happy Holidays to everybody. Hope the New Year's coming in good for everyone involved. So a few weeks ago, I went ahead and put out a little post on my Facebook page asking people what I should do for my next video. This was actually before Seasons Beatings 2023 came out. So I was going to make that, whatever they decided, I would try and do. And I got a lot of good suggestions from a lot of people. I had everything from neo-noir thrillers to silent movies. But the first one that caught my eye was video game movies. And obviously that was kind of a cool thing that I would want to touch on, obviously, because there's been a lot of obscure video game movies over the years. Not to mention that I haven't dived into neo-noir thrillers too recently, and I haven't done anything with silent film. So those are good suggestions that I definitely want to look into to do for future videos. But my buddy Birdie had posted, he was actually the first one to post about video game movies, and he grew up in the 90s. So if you grew up in the 90s, you knew we didn't have very many very good at all video game movies. Double Dragon, Super Mario Brothers, and I'm sure there's a whole slew of other Street Fighter. Ugh. So, live action video game movies have never adapted very well. It isn't until recently that we've gotten things like Sonic the Hedgehog, Super Mario Brothers, not the 1994 one with John Leguizamo and Bob Hoskins, but the animated one with Chris Pratt as Mario. Still don't like that, but whatever. Conversation for a different day. So I figured I would dive into some more obscure video game movies that were actually live action. And once again, there's never been a really good live action adaptation of very many video games, so these are not going to be the best choices in the world. But then again, most of the movies that I watch aren't. So let's kick things off with 2006's Dead or Alive. Dead or Alive is a 2006 action film based on the fighting video game franchise Dead or Alive, developed by Team Ninja and published by Tecmo. In the film, fighters are invited to Dead or Alive, an invitational martial arts contest. The four female fighters begin as rivals but work together to uncover the secret that the organizer of the tournament is trying to hide. It features an ensemble cast starring Devin Aoki from Fast and Furious fame, Jamie Presley, Eric Roberts, and Stephen Howie. So, Dead or Alive was almost a good movie. Almost a good movie. It actually had an interesting cast. Jamie Presley, Eric Roberts, Stephen Howie. But it also tried to be more than it was. So if you're not familiar with the Dead or Alive video game series, it's also not a very good video game. It's basically another fighting game like Street Fighter or Mortal Kombat or Tekken. And basically, Its biggest claim to fame is jiggly effects for the female characters. That's really what set it apart from the rest. And then the outfits that you can get for said female characters, a little bit more scandalous than Tekken or Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter. Of course, Cammy's been running around in a thong bodysuit since 1994, but hey, what do I know? Point is that Dead or Alive, the video game and the movie, tried to take all of the good things about those other fighting video games and then cram it into their video game, and in this case, this movie. And just because it's good with other stuff doesn't mean that it's good altogether. Dead or Alive, I would equate to, if anybody's familiar with the F-35 Joint Strike Fighter, it's not a very good plane. And basically what they did was they took all of the cool stuff that an F-16 and an F-15 can do and the Harrier can do, and while all of those planes are really good in their own rights at what they do, when you crammed it all together into one plane, it did not work out as well. And that's really what it was. Basically, this movie has all of the common themes of every fighting movie, from Bloodsport all the way to Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. And while those movies are good in their own respects because they stuck to their core values, when you crammed them together, you came up with this pile of crap. However, it's rated PG-13. If you're a young preteen or a teenage boy, it's probably not that bad. The chicks are good to look at. There's a lot of girls in bikinis. But again, the storyline is full of extremely large plot holes. The acting is not that great. The fight scenes, some of them are okay, some of them are not very well done, and the special effects are kind of ho-hum. So, really, I give this one a 4 out of 10. I mean, I watch it on a rainy day, but if I come across it, but it's usually not something I'm out seeking. So, there's that one. I did hear they ruined 43 bikinis during the production, so there's that. Too bad that doesn't make it into the film. So that's Dead or Alive for you. Not a great movie, not exactly a good video game either. Next up, I'm going to talk about what was a good video game, but has never translated into a very good movie. 2008, Far Cry.
Far Cry is a 2008 English-language German action film loosely adapted from the video game of the same name. The film is directed by Uwe Boll and stars Till Schweiger. It was a major box office bomb and received mostly negative reviews. Once a highly skilled Special Forces soldier, Jack Carver now makes a living on his boat by transporting people and cargo around the Pacific Ocean. One day, one of his passengers, ace reporter Valerie Constantine, embroils him in a perilous mission where a ruthless geneticist, Dr. Krieger, has been using a secluded destination to breed and genetically engineer species of super soldiers.
So, Far Cry, once again, based off of a video game. If you're not familiar with the Far Cry series, this movie is loosely based off of Far Cry 3, but again, it was directed by Uwe Boll, and it wasn't done very well. And if anybody's familiar with Uwe Boll, he does a lot of video game adaptation movies. He's done Alone in the Dark. He did this one. He's done Blood Rain. Actually, I should say he's done the Blood Rain franchise. That's another video for another day. But Uwe Boll does not do very many. Actually, I don't think he's done any good movies, really. Even by my standards, most of them are not very good. That being said, again, you've got it's a German action film, but it is in English, directed by Uwe Boll, based off of a video game. And again, it just didn't translate very well to live action. And I think most of that was probably because of the direction of U-Bowl. Nothing against Til Schweiger. I actually like him as an actor. If you're not familiar with him, he was the bad guy in Driven with Sylvester Stallone. Or a more obscure movie for those, the cult classic, he was the bad guy in SLC Punk, which is definitely a film I will go over in a future video because that is a very, very good movie. However, that being said, Til Schweiger, man, I don't want to say it was his one chance of being an action star because I think he was the bad guy in, it doesn't matter. It's another movie I'll go over another day. Love and War, Chris Pine, Tom Hardy. He was the bad guy in that. I don't remember the name of the film. Either way, Til Schweiger, good actor, not a good film. Farcry, very good video game series. I think they're up to Far Cry 6 now. They're working on Far Cry 7. But this game, the game, obviously way better story-wise than the movie. And again, I think that's because U-Bowl sucks. He sucks. A lot of the stuff he does sucks. It happens. So, there's that. The last one I want to talk about, I'm not going to say it's the best, but as far as video games go, it would be based off of the most popular video game of these three. And that would be 2009's Street Fighter, The Legend of Chun-Li.
Street Fighter: The Legend of Chun-Li is a 2009 American crime film released as a non-canonical spin-off and theatrical tie-in to Street Fighter IV. Produced by Capcom and Hyde Park Entertainment, the story follows the quest of Street Fighter character Chun-Li, who was portrayed by Kristen Curick. Its story is before the events of the original Street Fighter, as it follows Chun-Li's personal history and her journey for justice. The film co-stars Neil McDonough as M. Bison, Chris Klein as Charlie, Michael Clark Duncan as Balrog, and Black Eyed Peas member Taboo as Vega. The Legend of Chun-Li was released on February 27, 2009 by 20th Century Fox and became a critical and commercial failure. A new Street Fighter film is in the works at Legendary Entertainment.
So unfortunately, this was another movie that actually had a really good cast and had a lot of potential, but fell absolutely flat. Man, this was a bummer. So Street Fighter, I'm sure a lot of people are familiar with the Street Fighter gaming franchise. It's been around for a long time. I used to play the original one way back in the day when my parents had a bowling league and they would go bowling every Thursday night and I would go play at the arcade and they had the original Street Fighter before Street Fighter 2 ever came out. Then Street Fighter 2 came out, and we got Street Fighter the movie with Jean-Claude Van Damme, and that was a pooper. As much as I am of a Van Damme fan, that was a real stink bomb. So once again, this didn't translate very well at all. So The Legend of Chun-Li isn't necessarily based off of the video game itself. Kind of a standalone film that was trying to give a prequel into the whole Shadow Empire, if you will, from M. Bison, and the beginnings of Chun-Li and how and why she became what she was. And all of that's fine, except none of the characters really translated very well to the big screen. One, as much as I love Neil McDonough, and he is a great bad guy, he's not a very good M. Bison, and that's not his fault. Chun-Li, played by Kristen Curick, well, Chun-Li's Chinese, and Kristen Curick is just not. It's plain and simple. She just ain't. It was not a good casting choice. She did fine acting-wise, but she's not believable as Chun-Li. Michael Clark Duncan as Balrog. That's pretty good, and I like Michael Clark Duncan. God bless his soul. Gone too soon. Chris Klein was in here for some fucked up reason I couldn't even tell you. I like Chris Klein. I liked him a lot in Arrowverse. I liked him in American Pie. But man, this character was a... He was nothing but a cheese factory in this movie, that's for sure. The only saving grace was Jen, who was played by Robin Shou. And if you're not familiar with him, well, he was Liu Kang in Mortal Kombat and Mortal Kombat Annihilation. He was also, you know, the long-lost brother of Chris Farley in Beverly Hills Ninja. So that, that was kind of cool to see him in another film, but really this movie, again, full of plot holes, not great acting, and just literally unbelievable characters. None of these actors were believable as the character that they were supposed to be. Maybe with the exception of Michael Clark Duncan, because he plays a big black boxer, and that's exactly what Balrog is. Now, to be fair, Street Fighter 1994 with Jean-Claude Van Damme was also a pooper, and there was a lot of characters in that one that were very unbelievable as well. One, you had Jean-Claude Van Damme as Guile, and I will definitely be going over that in a future video as another Hollywood miscast. Guile, as we all know, is American. Jean-Claude Van Damme is just not. There's nothing American about the man. I love him to death, but Guile, he was not. So, regardless, video game movies have never really adapted very well to live action, and there's many, many more that I could go over. While I was researching the videos for this, there's a lot of video game movies out there that are even based off of obscure video games themselves. So there's that. So that's like a obscurity on top of an obscurity. It's an obscurity squared. So, but there you have it. 3 video game movies for my buddy Birdie, who wanted me to do some video game movies, none of which I really recommend, to be honest with you. Usually I give you guys some stuff that you should be watching, but here's 3 things you can definitely pass on and you're not missing anything, that's for sure. Farcry, Dead or Alive, Street Fighter Legend of Chun-Li, and it's really too bad because the Street Fighter franchise actually adapts well to animation. There's a few animated movies that do pretty well. There was an animated cartoon back in the day that I used to watch every Saturday morning, but no, these movies are not it. And they keep trying to, there was rumors of a sequel a long time ago for Street Fighter with Jean-Claude Van Damme, and a few people had signed up for that, but no. I'm kind of glad that never happened. And again, this is one of those things kind of like comic book movies. Some comic book movies would go over a little bit better if they would just stick to the source material, and none of these movies did. They all turned out so there you have it, folks. Video movies that you should probably not be watching. I hope to bring you more videos throughout the course of the year. Like, subscribe, and comment to the channel. Share the video with your friends and family, and I will see you guys in the next one.